Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with a video that is haunting me a little bit. So I have this list on my phone with palettes that no longer are available, that I really wish that I wouldn't have missed out on. So today I'm going to share with you those palettes that still live rent-free in my head as well as on my phone. And the palettes that I really wish that I would have picked up when they were still available. So this is going to be the discontinued palettes that still live rent-free in my mind. Also, we are part of Vlogmas at the moment. We are doing Vlogmas. I think we should be about halfway through at this point when I'm uploading this video. It is currently the 11th of December, so I'm filming this a little bit ahead. But I'm going to go through the 5 palettes today that still live rent-free in my mind and the ones that I really wish that I wouldn't have missed out on. But before I jump into the video, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So I'm going to sit on this side so I can put up some pictures here because obviously, unfortunately, I don't have these palettes to show you. But like I said, I have 5 palettes to share with you today. The first one is one that I've talked a lot about on my channel anyway, because it is one that I have talked about. If it ever becomes available again, I will pick it up. And again, I have mentioned that a few times. And that is the Kashas Flower Punk palette. It looks like this. When this first came out, I initially thought this was a beautiful palette. I just thought like the tones in here are so stunning. I love the kind of greens, like the minty greens and like the tone of some of the greens together with the pinks. Like those two specific tones of the green and the pink really worked well together. These type of pinks are also some that I really love. I love these kind of warm toned pinks. So when it first came out, I was like, oh my god, that's a stunning palette, but I don't need it. And I'm kicking myself a little bit for saying that because I was like, you know, I have greens in my collection, I have pinks in my collection, and I was like, I don't need it. I'm trying to be good. I'm trying not to purchase so many palettes. So, you know, I put that out of my mind and I was like, it's fine. I don't need it. But it kept popping up over and over again. I kept seeing it on Instagram. I kept seeing it on YouTube. And I was like, it is such a stunning palette. But again, I kept talking myself out of the palette. I was like, the packaging is really annoying because it has that like slidey off packaging where like the top comes off. It doesn't have like the traditional packaging, if that makes sense. So I just took any kind of opportunity that I could to talk myself out of this palette. And, you know, eventually I got to a point where I was like, okay, I really do still want this palette. Maybe I should pick it up. So that was Black Friday last year. So yeah, last year in November, I was like, okay, it's time to pick it up. When Kashas has his Black Friday sale, I'm going to pick the palette up. But when I checked, it was out of stock. And I don't think they announced that it was discontinued or anything. I don't know if they still have announced that it's still on the website out of stock. And it's been like that for over a year. So I checked and I've been checking ever since, like on and off, and it's never been available again. So I do believe this is discontinued, which is a shame because I really still want this palette. This is probably one out of, actually I was gonna say 1 out of 2, but no. There's like 3 on here that I really wish that I could pick up, but this is definitely one of them. Actually, maybe this would be the second place. But yeah, it's a really stunning palette and I'm a bit sad that I missed out on it. But again, I'm sure that I have similar tones in my collection. All of those greens are quite unique, I think, to me. But, you know, we live and we learn. So that is a palette that is probably still going to live rent-free in my head for a long time. I'm still looking for it on eBay or something like that. I have seen one, but it's really expensive and I can't justify paying that. But if I see it on eBay or something like that at a good price, I probably will pick this one up because it is still one that I really am lusting for. Sticking with Kashas, there is one more palette from them that I am still lusting after as well, and that is one of their original Futurism palettes. So there was a time when I wanted like all of the Futurism palettes. I really wanted the sci-fi green, but I do have enough greens in my collection, so that one isn't really taunting me as much anymore. I do have the Sashimi City. The Luna Lavender, I was a little bit interested in, but I have those tones over and over in my collection. And also, you know, it still is available if I wanted to pick that one up. But out of all of the palettes that they have had and that have been discontinued and everything like that, there's one palette that I wish that I could still pick up. And that is the VR Neon palette. So that looks like this. You know, it is a very bright palette. And I don't wear as many bright eyeshadows anymore. but this is a palette that I feel like would add a lot to my collection. I feel like these vibrant tones, like it's almost like a mini rainbow palette, and I don't really have a true rainbow palette in my collection, so I feel like these tones would really add something to my collection. I also really love the shimmers in here. The hot pink shimmer looks so stunning. I don't really wear like that kind of shimmer a lot, but I mean, it's something about that just draws me in. Same with the other one too. The two shimmers, like I said, look stunning, and I feel like they complement the color story so well. So this is another palette that is still on my mind, but I don't think this is as high up there as the Flower Punk palette. Again, if I did see it somewhere, I might pick it up. Same as like any of these palettes really, but yeah, it's not as high up there as the Flower Punk palette. It's just one that I think is really stunning, and this is one that I wish that I got into Kashas before it got discontinued, because by the time that I was ready to purchase these, what do you call the Futurism palettes, they were starting to get discontinued. So it's fine. Like, I wasn't really into Kashas before that, so it is what it is, but that is the second palette. The third palette that I have to talk about comes from Odin's Eye. And I do have a couple Odin's Eye palettes right now. I actually had 2 before, but I recently picked up 4 additional ones, which was the Christmas bundle. And honestly, the Christmas palettes, like the Christmas Eve and the Merry Christmas palette, would probably have been on this list unless they re-released them. So I did pick them up then. So luckily, I was able to snatch those up. And also, by the way, I realized today I'm wearing the Elva palette on my eye. I'm wearing a lot of the shades actually today. But yeah, that's what I'm wearing on my eyes, by the way, if you wanted to know. But one of the Odin's Eye palettes that I really wish that I could have picked up or would have picked up is the Hella palette, which is collaboration with Angelica Nyqvist. I did pick up the Kaleidos Club NABLA palette when it was released with her as well. So partly because of that, I was like, I can't buy every collaboration with her. Although the color story is stunning, again, I have these colors over and over my collection, which in a way, I feel like a clown because this color story really reminds me of the Kaleidos Flower Punk palettes. And you know, when this was released, maybe that would have been my sign to see, like, you know, I can pick this one up instead of that palette. But I never ended up doing that. Again, I kind of talked myself out of it because I was like, I have these colors, I don't need more eyeshadow. But it is so stunning, and I see people talk about this palette. I see the multichromes in this palette. I see again the pink and the greens and everything else, and it's such a beautiful palette. I know she also did the Halloween palettes, but they don't really interest me at all. It's only the original Hella palette that I really want. And again, it is one that I would 100% pick up again if I could. And it's probably like the 3rd ranked on this list. I would, by the way, say that the VR Neon is like the 4th rank. So like in the order I would pick them up if they became available again. But this is definitely a palette that I would pick up. You know, if I could get the Flower Punk palette, maybe I would talk myself out of this one because the color stories are a little bit redundant. But this one has more colors. It is probably more dimensional with like the multichromes in there or like the shimmers. Because Odin's Eye shimmers, especially the newer formulas, are amazing. And since I only heard good things about this palette, I'm really sad that I missed out on it. But again, it is what it is. I'm probably right in a way that I don't need more eyeshadows, but some of these palettes I just can't get out of my mind. And again, this is one of them. In a 4th spot, we actually have the #1 palette that I'm so sad that I missed out on. Because this is one that I was having on my wish list for the longest time. And I was like, I'm going to pick it up. I'm just going to wait until I've used up a few more like neutral tone palettes. Until I declutter more things. It's so stunning. I really want this palette. And I kept repeating those things in my mind. I was like, I'll wait. I don't need it yet. I don't need it yet. I don't want it to sit in my drawers. I'll buy it when I, you know, maybe in a year when I have decluttered some more palettes, stuff like that. And that is the Glaminatrix Nearly Natural palette. Look at this stunner. It is so beautiful. It is, again, more of a neutral kind of palette, which is why I waited, because I have so many neutral tones in my collection. But it is the perfect neutral palette. It has those rosy tones. It has a few different like undertoned mattes as well as shimmers. It also, again, speaking of shimmers, it has those beautiful dimensional indie shimmers that I love so much in my singles collection. And I would love to have another, especially neutral palette with those kind of shades in it. I've seen so many people swatch this palette out. I've seen so many people use it. I know it's just Steph picked this one up not too long ago, I think this year at some point. And she raves about this palette. I think she says it's her favorite palette in her collection now. and I'm so upset that I missed out on it. I didn't even know it was getting discontinued, but I think she mentioned it in one of the videos, and I looked it up and there it was discontinued, and I was so gutted. Yeah, this is definitely a palette I'm lusting after the most, and I think this is also the palette on the list that I would get the most use out of. This is another palette that I'm stalking on like eBay, stuff like that, just to see if I can find it again. And I'm hoping, I've heard rumors that they're gonna really release it with a better formula, and if they do, I'm gonna snatch it up straight away because I don't want to miss out on it again. And I really, really hope that's true, because this is definitely a palette that I am dreaming about all the time. I think about it all the time, and it's also one that is right up my alley. So I am really, really sad that I missed out on this one. And if you know anything about this palette, or you know where you can get it, please let me know, because it is definitely one that I am lusting after so much still. Then lastly on the list is probably the palette that I am least likely to pick up if it became available again, but I still wanted to include it because it's definitely a color story that every time I see it in someone's video, I'm just like, oh, that's such a beautiful palette. I really, really wish I would have gotten my hands on it. And that is the NABLA Soul Blooming palette, looking like this. Again, it's probably a palette that I don't need. I probably have these colors over and over in my collection, but it's just something about like the pops of the purple and the pink and just the color story overall. It is more of a neutral palette again, but it does have those like very muted pops of colors, which I really like. And I think it's a really beautiful palette. Also, let's just be honest, the packaging of this one is so pretty. I love the packaging of this one. So it's definitely one that I was interested in, but again, I kind of waited with it because I was like, I don't need more eyeshadows. I definitely have these colors. I know I've said that about some of the other palettes on this list, but this is definitely a palette that I had similar palettes to, or similar colors to my collection. So I didn't need this palette, and that's kind of why I put it out of my mind. But I remember when I saw this was discontinued and no longer available, I felt my stomach drop, because I really, really wished I could have picked this one up. But, you know, if it became available again, I'm not sure if I would pick it up, but it's still one that I think about often. And every time I see it somewhere, like on a video or something like that, I just look at it and I'm kind of like, I get so happy, because it is such a beautiful color story, and the color story makes me happy. So that is the last one on the list. It's just one that I wanted to breeze over, because again, it's probably one that I wouldn't pick up now, even if it became available again, but it's still one that lives rent-free in my mind. So I wanted to mention it anyway. And also it kind of made me an even 5. So those were all of the palettes that I want to share with you today. Again, I really wish I could pick these up. And again, if you know anything about these palettes, if you know, have heard any rumors about if they're going to come back again, if they are truly discontinued, if you can get them somewhere on like a specific website, please let me know, because I would die to try these palettes. So that is going to be it for today, you guys. I really, really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any palettes that live rent-free in your mind that you are so upset that you missed out on. Really wish I would have gotten the Kaleidos Club Nebula palette, which I have, which I'm so grateful for. But if there's any others that are like that, please let me know down below. And otherwise, I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye, guys.